Ripon Rabbit Hole is a community-driven radio. At times the community comments may reveal prejudices and other beliefs that we or our sponsors do not condone. Views or opinions expressed by the community, callers, or guests, are those of the individual speaking and do not represent the views or opinions of this site. Ripon Common Sense content is intended for mature audiences only. Enjoy. The captain has turned on the seatbelt sign.
Good evening and welcome to the 5th annual live broadcast from Ripon, Wisconsin of the Freedom Flame. Give yourselves a round of applause for being smart enough to be here. Our program will begin in just a moment. Reminder, if you're joining us tonight virtually, to have your candle ready to light along with us. Ladies and gentlemen, regardless of your geographic location, those of you who are in Ripon, Wisconsin now, we ask that you please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please remain standing for the national anthem.
Christ
Welcome to the 5th annual live broadcast of the Freedom Flame, live from Ripon, Wisconsin. You're looking at a live shot of the Little White Schoolhouse. Not just any schoolhouse.
This school, unlike the other one-room schoolhouses, is a little special. People were concerned about slavery being spread into the new territories west of the Mississippi. And there was a person living in Ripon at that time called Alvin Beauvais. And Beauvais, who came here from New York, was really opposed to spreading slavery. He got a bunch of people together. They met in this building in 1854, and they decided to create an organization which would resist the spread of slavery in our country, and they called themselves Republicans. And that's how the Republican Party got started here.
And the reality is that these men, women, and child that went into this building that you see now on your screen did so as with differences. They had different values. They had different beliefs. They had different trusted sources. And they were Whigs, Free Soilers, and Democrats. Because during that period of time, there was great division in our country.
The way families were going to get along in America was each generation was going to have to find a new field of endeavor, a new place to go where they might prosper. And for that reason, for Bowen and lots of other people at the time, it was really important to keep the West open for their kind of economic pursuit, which would be free labor economic pursuit. So he wrote this letter to the paper, absolutely blasting the Kansas-Nebraska bill, and Alvin Beauvais, who was a Whig, who was living in Ripon at that time, and as far as he knew, a friend of a friend of Bowen, but a political opponent of Bowen, read the letter and said, "Hey, I agree with that. We have something in common. We both are opposed to the Kansas-Nebraska bill." So as Beauvais tells the story, he and Bowen got together, and they said, "Let's do something about it." And they brought in a third man right away, a man named Amos Loper, who was another Whig who owned a lot of farmland north of Ripon. And the three of them concocted this idea that they would try to form a coalition or eventually a new party of people in Ripon that would be members of the Whig Party, members of the Democratic Party, and maybe even members of the Free Soil Party, who all could agree on the fact that the Kansas-Nebraska bill should be defeated and that slavery in the territories should be opposed. So it was the three of them that organized a meeting to be held in Ripon at the end of February in the Congregational Church. And they went around individually to their friends and neighbors and said, "Come to this meeting." There were lots and lots of people at that meeting at the Congregational Church. It was an open meeting. Women were there. We think children were probably there as well. And somebody had done some work ahead of the meeting because some resolutions had been written up already. And at a certain point in the meeting, these resolutions were brought forward and the meeting adopted those resolutions. And in short, the resolutions said, there should be a new political party formed. We can't trust either the Whigs or the Democrats to stand up for what we believe about slavery. They didn't use the term Republican. They called for a great Northern party that would oppose the Kansas-Nebraska bill. But that was really the beginning of things. And then, once the resolution had been adopted, they realized that they had to make it more formal.
A week later, in the local newspaper, there was a long statement signed by a number of people, including Beauvais, but also others. In fact, the first signature on the statement was from Jediah Bowen, who was a leading Democrat at the time. That again reiterated all the arguments made against the Kansas-Nebraska Act, and further called for a meeting on the 20th of March in the Little White Schoolhouse. The first meeting, of course, had been in a church, which would probably have been appropriate for the discussion of a moral issue like slavery. But if one is going to meet to discuss political things, it was most often the case in small towns like Ripon that one used the schoolhouse. That's what schoolhouses were for. They were not only just for schools, they were for political and community meetings.
In the 19th century, having a firm separation between church and state was still a really, really important concept for people. And while most everybody in the 19th century was religious and a member of some church, they tried very hard to separate politics from religion, and that's probably why the meeting was shifted to the schoolhouse.
Now that schoolhouse is the very same schoolhouse that you're looking on your screen and that you can see on your screen now. I'm going to have Dave pan his camera around across the street so we can get a look at the live look of the people who have gathered on the ground from all over for this particular celebration. It's a nice crowd, probably the largest crowd we've ever had in this celebration physically on the ground. And of course, we're joined by people from all over the world listening on Ripon Common Sense Radio and as well in our chat room at YouTube. I'm going to bring my co-host on air now, Mr. Jerry Hicks, host of the Dark Wolf's Den. Jerry, it's great to be here and celebrate with you virtually as these people have gathered here in Ripon for freedom, united in our freedom. Oh, you're muted, Jerry. I don't hear you. Let's see. That could be on my end. Let's see. Now, Jerry, are you there?
Now
you're
I
there.
am here.
Welcome. Happy Freedom Day.
Happy Freedom Day, my friend. It is both an honor and a pleasure to be able to share this amazing event with you and all of the amazing folks of Ripon. I am very, very ecstatic for this day. It's a day we get to celebrate the freedoms that we at least still have in this country.
At least at the moment, and that's exactly why we've come together and done this particular presentation tonight. Now, we asked many of you, what exactly does freedom mean to you? And some of you sent us recorded messages, and in just a few moments, we're going to connect to the people in Ripon, Wisconsin. We're going to hear what freedom means to them there on the ground. But this was our friend Gary who says this.
As far as what I think freedom is important, it's just about everything our current government seems to be trying to take away. I have been to countries where there is very little choices and freedoms, and even with everything that is going on here, we still have choices, and we can still make a difference, and I'm hoping that we soon will.
I'm hoping that we soon will, too, make that difference. And also, our listener and friend and Ripon Rabbit member, JoJo's, had this to say.
Hi, this is JoJo's. Freedom is the ability to be different or have different views without being ostracized or hunted down for it. Thank you.
And of course, our listener, Earth Daughter, all the way in Washington.
Hi, AJ. This is Earth Daughter. You're asking, what is freedom to me? This is such a loaded question considering the dystopian world we're currently living in. And I've agonized over what my answer was going to be. So I've just decided that freedom is living without fear.
Excellent. Well put, Earth Daughter. Thank you so much. And of course, My Life DIY.
This is My Life DIY, and freedom to me is being able to do whatever you want within reason, because there's all different ways of doing things.
Well put, My Life DIY. There are all different ways of doing things. Isn't that right, Jerry?
Absolutely, AJ. I really like that answer. And I'd like to go ahead and throw my answer on the pile while we're here. Freedom to me means the ability to express one's free will while respecting the sovereignty of others. I think all these answers are just absolutely incredible, AJ.
I think what's really unique about this situation and this event that happened 1854, March 20th, it symbolizes how people were able to walk into that little white schoolhouse divided, and when they emerged, they were united. They were united in their freedoms. And of course, this has been presidentially proclaimed, as we're going to tell the story of the Freedom Flame in just a moment. But it's not the first time or the last time that a president has actually paid attention to our story there in Ripon, Wisconsin. This is, let's see here. This is then Vice President George Herbert Walker Bush, George H. Bush, who was then Vice President in 1984.
For me, as a Republican Vice President of the United States, the legacy of Alvin Beauvais and Abraham Lincoln holds a special meaning. But Ripon's Little White Schoolhouse commemorates an event of national significance, not an act of partisan politics. The grassroots leadership of Alvin Beauvais and his friends and the active cooperation of independent citizens are commemorated in Ripon's Little White Schoolhouse. A great deal has changed since 1854, but our fundamental character, values, and virtues persist. And the example of our courageous leaders must be kept alive in our collective memory. It is fitting to pass along from generation to generation the story of America's first self-proclaimed Republicans in Ripon's Little White Schoolhouse.
In Ripon's Little White Schoolhouse. And we're celebrating and commemorating 168 years tonight of that very meeting, where many people from within Ripon were probably getting ready right at this moment to ascend into that schoolhouse room for this all-important meeting that night. Of course, when they went in, they were divided. When they came out, they were united. And we're also celebrating 68 years of the commemoration of the Freedom Flame, which is a lost, remarkable story that needs to be preserved and needs to be part of the story of the meeting in Little White Schoolhouse in Ripon, because it was honored by Dwight Eisenhower, Ike, the 34th President of the United States. And he made a remarkable proclamation that this day is to be celebrated every March 20th thereafter, as 68 years now have passed since that moment. Let's go ahead and listen to the story of the Freedom Flame.
There isn't any doubt that the meeting in the Little White Schoolhouse in Ripon, Wisconsin, March 20th, 1854, played a major role in the political landscape of today. This fact was preserved in a major way exactly 100 years later to the day in 1954. Days before the centennial of the Republican birth, on March 7th in Washington, D.C., Vice President Richard Nixon, was also the chairman of the Republican Centennial Committee, made a remarkable announcement concerning Ripon. Nixon had announced plans for the rekindling of the Freedom Flame, and that citizens of Ripon have pledged to keep the flame burning. Nixon said the flame will be lighted at the same small schoolhouse where Whigs, Free Soilers, and Democrats gathered in 1854 and pinned upon themselves the label of Republicans. He went on to say that the affair held in Ripon on March 20th, 1954 will be attended by many Republican national leaders, Hollywood stars, and others. Ripon will be the site of the Freedom Flame, which will be kindled like the flame burning before the tomb of the unknown soldier. It will continue to burn as long as freedom lives in America, said Nixon. By the next morning, the Vice President's announcement was found in newspapers all across the nation, and throughout the coming days, the sensation of this event would grow. By the following week, it was revealed that President Ike Eisenhower himself would officially open the centennial celebration of the Republican Party in Ripon, Wisconsin, by pressing a telegraph switch in the nation's capital to light the freedom flame. And that at 8 o'clock on March 20th, the President of the United States will press the telegrapher's key and spark an electrical impulse that will travel by wire Western Union to the freedom flame and cause Ripon's memorial candle to light. It was said the lighting will then set in motion a Freedom Torchlight Brigade of some 1,000 torchbearers who will march through the streets of Ripon lighting candles in every home and business establishment, setting forth a presidential proclamation that this Freedom Brigade is to be repeated every year thereafter on March 20th. There was a time in the 80s when magician David Copperfield vanished the Statue of Liberty. Many people still credit this feat as the greatest illusion ever, and I remember how captivated I was as a small boy watching the illusion on live TV. Today, in 2018, I find the reason why David vanished the Statue of Liberty and the symbolism he brought more important than the trick itself.
I want to tell you why I did this. My mother was the first one to tell me about the Statue of Liberty. She saw it first from the deck of a ship that brought her to America. She was an immigrant. She impressed upon me how precious our liberty is and how easily it can be lost. And then one day, it occurred to me that I could show with magic how we take our freedom for granted. Sometimes we don't realize how important something is until it's gone. So I asked our government for permission to let me make the Statue of Liberty disappear, just for a few minutes. I thought if we faced emptiness, where for as long as we can remember that great lady has lifted up her lamp, why then we might imagine what the world would be like without liberty, and we'd realize how precious our freedom really is. And then I would make the Statue of Liberty reappear, by remembering the word that made it appear in the first place. The word is freedom. Freedom is the true magic. It's beyond the power of any magician. But wherever one human being guarantees another the same rights he or she enjoys, we find freedom. How long can we stay free? For just as long as we keep thinking and speaking and acting as free human beings. Our ancestors couldn't. We can, and our children will. Now!
On the night of March 20th, 1954, President Eisenhower was attending the White House Press Photographers Dinner in his honor. He left and went to a nearby room. He pushed down on a special golden telegraph key embossed with a gold flag. He held down the key for a few moments and then looked at D.E. Long, the White House communications officer. "That ought to do it," the president said. Long nodded, and Mr. Eisenhower started back to the banquet. But he had to stop, making certain that the flame had lit. The president was told that he had indeed ignited the gas torch in front of the Little White Schoolhouse, and Ike then urged his fellow Republicans to face the future, as he put, with faith, hope, and courage to fulfill their responsibilities. The celebration in Ripon had indeed begun. Amazement as the flame flashed into the night when the president pressed the key in Washington, as excitement had broke out from all those who were witness to the ignition. Ripon Mayor Robert Bourne told the cheering crowd of several thousand that, "I solemnly pledge in behalf of the people of Ripon, their children, and their children's children, to keep this torch aflame as long as freedom exists, and God willing, may it forever." Then 600 torches made from rags soaked in oil, tacked onto long sticks, were lit from the flame of the freedom flame and spread through the city of then 5,600 people in a giant procession. Republican spokesperson and chairman of the Republican National Committee, Leonard Hall, from the president down, had classified the torch and its lighting to be kept aglow as a symbol of America's freedom and liberty, and said, The light was expected to bring the people all over the world, even behind the Iron Curtain, the hope that they will someday enjoy the freedom that we know in the United States. Leonard was right. The worldwide spotlight shined down on Ripon as the morning papers rang news of the event all around the world. It was compared to other lights in history like the Arc de Triomphe in Paris and the Olympic light from the original flame at the first Olympic Games. However, by the time President Eisenhower gave his second inaugural address, referencing the Freedom Flame in 1957,
"May the light of freedom, coming to all darkened lands, flame brightly, until at last the darkness is no more."
And not long after the spotlight of March 54 had faded, like a Copperfield illusion, the significance of Ripon's flame had vanished. We ask why. Where did it go? It doesn't matter if you're a Democrat or a Republican. The chilling symbolism and disappearance of this light is the slap in the face to the honor in which it was created. We are a new audience now, one that is cheering to rekindle that flame once again. On March 20th, the Ripon Rabbit Hole will, in honor of the duty in our mission for the spirit of Ripon, will electronically reignite that spark just as it was so many moons ago. We vow to hold and keep lit virtually until the presidentially proclaimed tradition and physical freedom flame returns once again to its intended keepers, the citizens of Ripon, Wisconsin.
And to any individual worldwide, we share that. We do share that feeling to any individual worldwide. And that's why we do this broadcast. We keep the spirit of that flame alive. And I actually, as this has been the 5th broadcast, this has been the first year where we actually were able to connect to somebody who was there that night on March 20th, 1954. Take a listen to his own words. Can you tell me what it is that you remember of that event?
It took place, I think, a little bit north of where the schoolhouse is now. And that's where the flame was, and it was a big celebration. It was a big crowd, like a Memorial Day crowd. And I don't know, it seems like maybe it was cool. I don't think it was in the dead of summer, but we stood around. I'm sure there were some speeches. I was in grade school. Maybe the band played. I guess I don't know that for sure. But we sat around, and I guess Eisenhower lit the flame by making a phone call or something like that. It was done electrically, by telephone. That's about it. And, and I think that was a flame was going to be eternal. And hell, every time there was a windstorm of any sort, why it blew out.
Well, that's understandable in Wisconsin, because unlike the weather that we're experiencing and witnessing tonight in Ripon, Wisconsin, as the sun is setting now on the Little White Schoolhouse, you really get a sense of what a wonderful night this actually is for the people of Ripon, Wisconsin, who have gathered there, that you can see on your screen, in honor of this flame. And, of course, all of you out there in virtual space with us. I cannot pronounce your name, Yataki 001. I hope I did that right. I apologize. Sandy B., great to celebrate with you this year. Earl Taylor, JoJo's in the room as well, all the way up there to the top of the list. The Dark Wolf's Den Show, My Life, Michael Fontaine, Earth Daughter, Raider Champion, Julie Des Jalaris, if I said that right. I'm terrible when it comes to reading these names. Ripon, as well as Jason Starr, Dominic Frost, the Frosty, Earl Taylor, so many of you gathered in our virtual celebration tonight, because it's also for you guys. No matter where you are virtually, we're going to ask that you have your candle ready to light. And we're going to light our candles virtually first before we send that spark, like Eisenhower did, electronically to Ripon. That's going to light our freedom flame and our candles there for the physical people that have gathered on that particular very special place tonight. We are also joined by the modern day queen of the English language. Laurel Erica has a few words that she would like to share with all of you and our listening audience, a very special poetry piece that she's put together for tonight. So let's take a listen.
Hi, everyone. This is Laurel Erica of Word Magic Global, and I want to share a verse I wrote for America the Beautiful, which is now applicable to the whole of planet Earth. Be you too with spacious heart, with mind that's touched by grace, with simple human majesty, step forth and take your place. The planet Earth, our Mother Earth, needs all of us to be courageous souls with noble goals to keep our country free. I want to share a second piece with you too. It's called Speaking Beauty, and I consider it an anthem for our era. And I believe each one of us present in this convocation and on the planet, and the new beings taking a body and showing up at this pivotal moment in this history of our species, I believe we are all here by divine appointment, that we desire to share a gift that is unique to us, that can help elevate and consecrate human consciousness, so it can launch us into a higher frequency of unity in diversity. So here is Speaking Beauty. We are godlings on this planet, here because we all pre-planned it. Ghastly, ghostly shadows, damn it, now's our chance to Superman it. Lift your voices, re-enchant it. Spirit's codes are all semantic. Though we're small and sometimes frantic, souls are whole and all gigantic. These may be our darkest hours, yet each of us has superpowers. The infinite is infinite, which means we can turn on the light. All life's a dream, and we're the dreamers. Though hate's streaming through the schemers, we're all here as world redeemers, beaming peace. We're love's supremers. So mages, sorceresses, sages, artists of all sorts and ages, share your gifts now. Be courageous. Daring actions are contagious. A diamond mind and heart of gold are gifts the prophecies foretold for those uniting souls on earth by honoring each being's full worth. When we let go of againstness, we step into our immenseness, for the genesis of genius is the light we strike between us when we share the gifts with which we're blessed to inspire higher consciousness. Then we'll gain what we've been dreaming of, the gift of everlasting love. the bliss of everlasting love, the kiss of everlasting love. Thank you.
Thank you, Laurel Erica, with a incredible message for all of us tonight that really shares with us that same spirit of unity. And we've heard what we've had people around the world have said virtually about what freedom means to them. We're going to try to connect now to Ripon, Wisconsin, to where we can hear from some of them who have gathered there on the lawn at the Little White Schoolhouse on what freedom means to them. So whoever wants to unmute at this point out of Ripon, go ahead and unmute so that we can hear what you guys have to say for us tonight. I don't know if it's going to be Jacob. Are you going to unmute? This is a live broadcast, folks, so we are dealing with a few technical issues here. Just one moment as we attempt to connect a live audio feed from our friends gathered there at Ripon. Hello, Ripon. Can you hear us?
We can hear you. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Who's this?
This is Jacob.
Awesome. Jacob, do we have Brock standing there?
Got him right here.
Awesome. Brock Maddox, everyone, is the team leader of the Wisconsin Freedom Fighters, the Freedom Fighters of Central Wisconsin. And Brock has brought several members of his team along with him tonight, as he's going to step up and say a few words about what freedom means to him.
Freedom. I would have to say, looking back at our past generations, from our grandparents and our parents, what was handed down to us throughout time, which would mean freedom of fear, freedom of totalitarian regimes, freedom to assemble, freedom to think. It's time to unite together as we the people, not just across America, but across this world as the people. It's time to love each other and come together as one. And we've been doing that all around the state of Wisconsin, and something beautiful is happening all over the state. Let that freedom flame burn and spread that far and wide, as far as it'll go, and unite together as we the people of the world.
Absolutely. Well put, Brock. Thank you so much for assembling your crew along with all of the Riponites that are there tonight honoring this special moment in time. Is there anyone else in Ripon that would like to say a few words of freedom and what their most cherished freedom means to them?
Hi, my name's Anita Jasison. I'm from Wisconsin Rapids and one of the members of the Freedom Fighters of Central Wisconsin team. And the way I was brought up, I was taught that our Creator granted us inalienable rights that have been written in our Constitution. And it starts off with our basic needs. We all need to eat, drink, water, and we need clothing, shelter, and to defend ourselves. And the current administration that's been going on for decades are slowly taking away our basic needs. We need to breathe, and we all know what happened in the last 2 years. We need to eat. Government is stopping a lot of that thing by pricing us to. I mean, it's just been a crazy 2 years, and I just see our freedoms slowly slipping away, laws being broken, nothing being done about it, and we the people have had enough. And we do need to band together, make our voices heard, and our voices are being taken away too. And we have to stop it before it goes too far. And we can only do that together, not as one, but as many coming together as one. So thank you.
Thank you. Well put. Well put. Anyone else?
Could not agree more.
Anyone else there in Ripon like to say a few words?
All right. What does freedom mean? In my opinion, it's something that underpinned the entire Constitution, although it wasn't really included in it. And we're all suffering from this day. And that's the ability to think for yourself and to question authority. If you don't believe the narrative that's being put forward these days, you're instantly ostracized, and something needs to come to a stop. How else are you going to ever forge forward and make your own path in life if you're just simply repeating something that everybody else has already done? Think for yourself and question authority. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We got more people coming up.
Great.
My name is Rose Petrie. I'm one of the co-organizers for the Fond du Lac County Recipes for Freedom groups. We're about a year old, and what freedom means to me is freedom for all, life for the unborn, for the elderly, freedom to do what we want, that happiness, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, and justice for all.
Wonderful.
Right there in the Constitution.
You're absolutely right. What does it feel like for you to be gathered there at this special place tonight and standing united, perhaps with people standing around you that may not share the same values and beliefs as you?
I feel humbled. I feel honored. History means a lot to me. I wasn't good in high school in history class, but it's come alive to me now for the last 40 years. And I'm so honored to be able to be here tonight.
We're honored to have you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
It's truly an honor to have everybody here with us this evening, both on the ground and virtually. Is there anyone else in line here with us, Jacob?
I'm not sure. Doesn't seem like it. Anybody else?
All right. Well, I am really loving seeing so many people that have come out tonight. And like AJ just mentioned, from all different backgrounds, from all different belief systems, everybody across the board. And it goes to show we don't have to agree on everything as long as we agree on freedom, right? On being united together.
Standing united in our freedoms is absolutely so important.
AJ?
Yes.
AJ?
Yes.
Myers across the road.
Yes, Dave. Great job.
I just want to expand on one of the women that called in about freedom and fear. I had a saying on my van for a while: those ruled by fear are not free. And so I kind of want to expand on what she had said.
It's very, very true. And there is an abundance of fear today. Fear almost being bombarding us constantly from our news outlets, from our social media streams. It seems like we live in an age of fear, do we not, David?
Yes, that's correct.
And it's these types of events, it's coming together to stand united that allow us to assemble is the reason why the Freedom Flame is so important to be continued, to be rekindled year after year after year. And I have a feeling that all of you on the ground there tonight are going to be a part of a story that they're going to tell about Ripon, Wisconsin, 200 years from now. So it's an honor to have everyone who's there on the ground gathered with us tonight. Now is the time at home that I'm going to ask you to get your candles ready to light. We are going to light our candles and then send our spark. We'll do it together, united, and we'll send that spark over to Ripon. So, Dave, I'm going to have you get closer to our freedom flame at this point, and I have asked along tonight's theme of freedom, we've asked the man that you just heard to step up to the freedom flame to be our honorary ignition of the freedom flame tonight, who is Brock Maddox, that you see there in your screen. And let's see, do we have Rob there as well? Is Rob on the ground over there? Perhaps he can take the... okay, perfect. You've got that. Let's get that ready to light. And all right. So once the flame has lit on your end virtually, we're going to ask if somebody has a microphone that is unmuted right now in the chat room. Let's see if we can mute that. There it is. It's Mark. Perfect. Thank you so much, Mark. So those of you at home, this is our special moment now. Everyone who has had their candle ready to light, we're going to light it together in just a few moments. I do want to say, once your candle has been lit, it's very important we ask that you take us a photo of your candle. And we'd like to see it. You can send a picture of your burning candle to Ripon rabbithole at gmail.com. Again, that's Ripon rabbithole at gmail.com. I'm going to mute your mic there, CSFL, unless you have something. If any of you in chat room, by the way, before we actually light this, if any of you in chat would like to step up, go ahead and raise your hand now, and we will give you the opportunity to share a word or two about freedom.
Hey, AJ.
Hi, Sandy. How are you?
I am doing great. Got my candle ready, but I didn't get a chance to put it on audio, but I just wanted to say freedom for me personally is the freedom to act and say what I want for my pursuit of happiness without hindrance from anybody else to hinder onto me in any way.
Wonderful.
That's what I wanted to say about freedom.
Thank you so much, Sandy, for sharing that with us. CSFL, did you have something you'd like to say, or JoJo's, or anybody else that's in the chat room? Juanito, our international listener from Canada, joining us. Any words on freedom for any of you before we light the ceremonial torch?
Just thankful, that I have freedom here in Canada. I know it's been a little bit crazy the last little while, but I'm just thankful.
We're thankful and grateful to have you joining us internationally tonight. Thank you so much, Juanito. CSFL champion in California. Are you there?
Yes, I'm here. You hear me?
Yes, we hear you just fine.
Yeah, as far as freedom goes, I think it's probably the most important inherent right any human being has. And of course, like I said, it's inherent, which means it's inalienable, which means the government did not bestow it upon us. We had it from the beginning, and it's up to us to ensure that the governments do not infringe on those freedoms that were not given by them, but were handed to us by our Creator, our God.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, CSFL champion, for joining us. All right, now is the moment, folks. Go ahead and let's all together light our candles. And Brock, I'll ask you to do the honors in Ripon and light and rekindle the freedom flame. Let's send that virtual spark now to Ripon. There it is. The flame has been lit. let's take a moment of silence in honor of the unity that brought us together tonight for this freedom. We've got candles burning in Tennessee, candles burning live in Canada, candles burning all the way there in California. We'll switch over to JoJo's. Candle burns tonight, as well as the Freedom Flame, rekindled in 2022. I want to give a big shout out and a top hats off to all of you who participated in this broadcast tonight, and all of you who are there on the ground. A few people that I'd like to honor that helped make this night and this event possible. Mr. Rob Wichow. He was a tremendous support on the ground, helping to organize along with Scott Zemlicka. Scott has been present for almost, I believe, every single one of these broadcasts, and we take our top hats off to him, as well as Jason Cox. Thank you for all your support and all of your hard work and dedication to this cause. Orlando Neves, wonderful to have you joined with us tonight in this incredible moment, a historic moment. Mr. Timothy Buckliner, all of your support that you've given us here at the Ripon Rabbit Hole and support and promotion of the Freedom Flame, we take our top hats off to you. Jacob and Shannon Olson, wonderful to have you along with us tonight. Mr. John and Laura Olson, wonderful to have you on board and your support as well. I'm going down my list here. Mr. Brock Maddox, of course, it was an incredible honor to have you light this year's Freedom Flame. Thank you for all of your support and your team. Mark and Sandra Bystra, who Sandra, if she wasn't on the ground right now, she would be actually in the chat room because she's been hanging out in our live broadcasts. So we take our top hats off to you. And of course, Mr. David Myers, who's been running the camera as well as Jacob there on the ground, giving us these wonderful, incredible feeds. And of course, I take my top hats off to all the freedom fighters of central Wisconsin. And I would not I'd be beside myself not to thank you, Mr. Hicks, Mr. Jerry Hicks, for being such a wonderful on-air personality here at the Ripon Rabbit Hole. And of course, my top hats off to you, Juanito, CSFL champion, JoJo's, My Life's Candle burning in Illinois now as well. And of course, all of you who have gathered and our incredible moderation team that we have. This is
let us make no mistake, AJ. A lot of this would not be possible without your hard work and help too, sir. So you're just as much well to thank for everything here as the rest of us are. And it is an honor to be able to work with you and everybody in Ripon. And this is for the freedomists all around the world. This isn't just for Ripon. This isn't just for one person or one group. This is the idea of freedom around the world. And we're proud to have you, AJ, running the Ripon Rabbit Hole, standing for freedom and keeping the Freedom Flame lit every single day here at the Ripon Rabbit Hole. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Jerry. That means a lot to me. And thank you, all of you, who took part in the rekindling ceremony, this year's rekindling ceremony. Jacob, if you could turn your camera around so we could see the candles there on Ripon's lawn as well. All of the people that have gathered tonight, unified in the freedom, will now begin to do a walk. We call it the Candlelight March, in the true spirit of this event, as it was done in 1954. It's an amazing sight to see all of you there. Brings tears to my eyes, and I thank each and every one of you for being a part of this special rekindling of the 2022 Freedom Flame. We will do it again and again and again, year after year, until the ultimate goal of keeping that flame lit. Not just for the citizens of Ripon, Wisconsin, not just for the citizens of the United States, but for all that can enjoy and understand what freedom truly means. Even behind the Iron Curtain, as Ike put it. Give yourselves a round of applause for being smart enough to have been here. From all of us here at Ripon Rabbit Hole, and from all of the members of the teams that have gathered there on the ground, we wish you a wonderful rest of your evening. Happy Freedom Flame Day, everyone. We did it.
We did it. Happy Freedom Flame Day, everybody.
Absolute beginners came to Georgetown. They were wearing Harris tweed and pork pie hats. They'd slit your throat and throw you in the gutter. But it's all you can expect from men like that. This is Bannon Harbor. The ladies wear perfume to scar your nose, and the only way to reach them is to scare them. But of that you know little, I suppose. It's a magical and mystical performance as you perambulate right down the road, with your pockets full of stardust and perfection, and Jesus on your side and in your soul. She had rings on every finger and 10 bracelets, some touch with powers given by a sage. He had contemplated giving her his wristwatch. The time for him had long since gone its way.
AJ, I have someone who'd like to speak.
Yes, by all means. Go ahead.
In the back streets of the city,
I have a business I am calling Treasures for Success, and I want to help blog different postings for the handicapped, depressed, low esteem, encourage, motivate, and uplift them to be incompetent instead of competent, and instead of disabled, enabled.
Wonderful.
I want to do a ministry like that, but I just would like groups of people, like I said, depressed, lonely, low esteem, handicapped, anyone in those fields that they just feel they want to move up in life. I want to help ask them questions, let them do out their own thinking instead of a counselor who thinks I've lived the experience my own self being a former neurological health problem, and I got all the way up to owning a house, driving. I was never thought of to get where I am. Another person wasn't thought of to go from type 4 cancer, 5 years waiting for a transplant, and 30 years today still living. So and I have others I've helped overcome their handicaps. I want this message to go out to others, but I need someone that'll help me set up different meetings.
Wonderful.
I tried asking schools to let me speak out, but just because it sounds to them like it's a faith message. Well, I can speak it in words that I don't have to mention Jesus or something else, but I just want to get the message out in normal words.
I get it. Listen, I'm going to ask that you send me an email, if you would, at riponrabbithole@gmail.com. That's riponrabbithole.com at I would love to have you on as a guest, and we'll find out more about what it is that you're trying to put together, and we'll see what we can do to help promote that.
I give you very much the thanks.
Thank you. Thank you so much. It's an amazing crowd, Jerry. What a spirit has turned up tonight for this event.
It's absolutely incredible. And though we're looking at a crowd on the ground, the crowd around the world is even bigger. And it's just absolutely amazing to see the light of freedom both burning physically and in the hearts of every one of these individuals who are here with us tonight.
It truly is. And it's going to be amazing to see how this grows year after year after year, because the flame has been rekindled. It's been rekindled for the last 5 years, and it continues to burn digitally, virtually 365 days of the year, all year long, on our website, the Ripon Rabbit Hole, and also its new home at thefreedomflame.com, where it's going to continue to burn. And we're going to update that countdown tomorrow, and it's going to recount down to the 2023 rekindling of the Freedom Flame. I see, CSFL champion, you do have a special candle tonight. As the people on the ground there in Ripon are going to make a Main Street Candlelight Walk back up to the Ripon Rotary Square. There's Rob. Our top hat's off to him. Flippin'
yes,
Rob.
Rob's coming up to me. He's asking if we'd like to start walking now.
Yep, go ahead. We'll follow along, and we'll walk with you virtually on the first annual Candlelight Walk following the Freedom Flame. Traditions are being made here, Jerry.
I love it. This is absolutely brilliant and amazing, and it's great to be a part of this. To literally walk down the street with these folks to the square. This is a radio first, I do believe, for us.
I do believe it is. We're full of firsts, and this is definitely one of those. Look at that amazing flame.
Well, let me tell you, this whole weekend is built up to the, well, of course, the whole year is built up to this, but this whole weekend, all the different broadcasts we've done has built up to this one amazing moment right here. Mr. Rob holding the Freedom Flame right there. That is absolutely amazing.
That's right. That's right. So Jacob and David will allow you to pick whatever viewpoints you want to watch. Go ahead, Rob. Lead the way.
As proclaimed by President Nixon, wasn't it? The March of the Freedom Flame and the Freedom Candles through the town of Ripon. That we shall still uphold this proclamation even in 2022. Incredible.
Followed by Brock Maddox, who spoke and lit the flame this year. Isn't that a sight?
It's amazing. There's no words for this.
Now, the walk that they're going to do is going to make a right-hand turn here in just a few moments. And they are going to be about a half a block away from the actual downtown Ripon. And this actually honors the tradition that was done in 1954, where the Torchlight Brigade, I think it's fair to say a Candlelight Brigade, is probably a little bit more politically correct today.
I would agree, my friend, but it's so many people there following along in that brigade. That's just so incredible.
It really is. It truly is. Now they're making their cross across the street. Jacob said my Wi-Fi walked away. I love it. Yes, you want a root beer float from NW, CSFL.
For those listening on radio, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, probably a good 15 to 20 people marching in a procession, holding a candle, following the Freedom Flame down the streets of Ripon, Wisconsin, live in person as we speak. Headed down to Rotary Square. Is that correct, AJ?
That's right. They're going to take a right up Main Street, and they're going to walk the main drag.
What's that? Hello. How you guys doing?
Doing great.
They're looking good, aren't they?
Yes, they are.
The voice you hear is David Myers, who's been our cameraman this whole evening. Glad to have David along with the ride with us here. He's done an incredible job tonight.
David is also a member of the
They're going to walk the main drag.
Central Wisconsin.
Hello. How you guys doing? Great. Watch where I'm going.
I know, right? Welcome straight to Mommy Street.
Just gonna tell you that.
He would hunt her down. Smile. Last time he was seen with
Say hi, AJ.
Say hi, AJ.
Hi. Great to see all of you.
Yeah, he said hi.
Hey.
Yeah.
Freedom.
Freedom in not just United States, but throughout the world. Absolutely amazing sight.
That's the main theme you see around the world, the protests.
Yep.
Freedom.
And it's almost like in today's day and age, David, freedom's a little bit of a naughty word.
Yep.
Big shout out to David, also has a Facebook page. He is the operator of WSRT News. You'll want to check him out on his Facebook group, WSRT News, which of course has its own We Seek Resistance to Tyranny, WSRT on Facebook as well. As our Candlelight and Freedom Flame March is underway live right now in Ripon, Wisconsin.
And I just want to point out, like you just pointed out, AJ, this isn't just about Ripon. This is about every freedomist fighting for freedom around the world.
Absolutely, Jerry. Now, there was about 600 people in the march that took place on 1954. And these types of events will grow. I think we'll see this crowd return again next year, and I think it'll grow bigger and bigger as it has each year that we've done this. Our 5th annual broadcast now, as candles are continuing to burn along with the people who are physically marching there in California. JoJo's and CSFL champion with his special candle. JoJo's in Arkansas burning next to the flag tonight. Absolutely wonderful. We've got the Republican Party birthplace special frosty mug with a Pisces candle from My Life DIY in Illinois. Sandy B also sharing her light of freedom tonight with a special Old Glory candle. I love that, Sandy. That looks absolutely wonderful. Absolutely great. Thank you so much for sharing that light with us. David Myers on the ground. That torch. They're coming up to where this event began tonight. They truly are an incredible group of people. As the Freedom Flame March.
That's why I'm walking. I gotta eat sometime.
And like AJ said, the flame continues to burn 365 24/7 at the riponrabbithole.com. That is RIPON RABBITHOLE.com, as well as thefreedomflame.com. Make sure you guys check that out if you haven't already.
Oh, there's still a little bit of snow on the ground after such a beautiful
Yeah, there it is.
today. And now the crowd will disperse into what they're calling the Freedom Social. And they deserve it.
Beautiful look at downtown Ripon there.
Sure is.
A lot of those historic buildings they haven't covered up.
Very historic. Look at the dedication. My goodness.
Freedom forever, AJ. Freedom forever.
Yes. Thank you so much, Brock.
Freedom forever, indeed. I second that.
And they have now officially returned to Rotary Square as their march to the Little White Schoolhouse and back has come full circle. It's a good feeling knowing that the flame has been rekindled in Ripon once again.
Rekindled both in Ripon and in the hearts of every single person there and every single person across the world listening to our voice right now.
Boy, you said that right. There's the campus cinema in the background there, which is also a historic landmark in Ripon. It is the first Marcus cinema in the United States, in the world. It's where Ben Marcus started his empire, right there. Give yourselves a round of applause. Let's hear it. A big cheer. 100.
So give yourself a round of applause. It's hard to do with a candle in your hand, right?
If on the count of three, we yell freedom. 1, 2, 3, freedom!
There you go.
Freedom.
Freedom it is.
Feeling her quote, but I think it's appropriate to say so as long as it
It is said he searches rivers for some sign. But the truth is that he got her down in Georgetown with a Spaniard who had left his wife behind.
Great weather.
Beautiful weather.
And the Freedom Flame March has concluded to Rotary Square, where the Freedom Flame sits now and burns brightly for each one of us.
Amazing.
Just a minute.
Joy on my soul. In the presence of the Lord, there's joy forevermore. Victorious, victorious, the joy of my soul. Thy loving kindness is better than mine. Thy loving kindness is better than whole. Thy lips shall praise thee. Thus will I bless thee. For I lift up my hands unto the Lord. We all sing "Oh Beautiful." Ready? Oh beautiful. Oh beautiful. For spacious skies forever.
Waves of green.
Anybody hear me? I guess so.
Here, Earl.
Hey, Earl, how you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. How you doing? Who am I talking to? First time back here doing this, so it's pretty interesting.
That was my wife that started that song.
I'd like to remind everyone in the backstage we are still in broadcast, just so you are aware.
We are still on air. But I think we're going to let the crowd that's gathered there in Ripon.
Bombing runs, search and destroy body counts. That was Johnson's.
Yeah, I guess we better behave ourselves then.
I just know that there's some our God is marching on. Glory, glory, hallelujah. Glory, glory, hallelujah. Glory, glory, hallelujah.
Don't know the third verse, huh?
I don't know.
Absolutely beautiful music coming from the crowd.
Yeah.
I wish we were there, Jerry. We'll be there next year.
You have no idea how badly I wish I were standing there right now. That is my goal by next year, to be standing with this crowd celebrating the Freedom Flame.
Wonderful. Celebrating the Freedom Flame.
Field trip.
Sense. That's right. Field trip, Sandy.
It's only on a field trip.
There it is.
Next year.
As the Freedom Flame burns in downtown Ripon, Wisconsin. That will close out our official 2022 rekindling of the Freedom Flame. We did it.
We did it.
That's right, we sure did, and so did all of you. Give yourselves a round of applause, literally, for being smart enough to have been here. We take our top hats off to all of you, both physically on the ground in Ripon as well as virtually all around the world. Being heard on Ripon Common Sense Radio in 77 countries plus worldwide, and of course on YouTube. This event just keeps growing, gets bigger and bigger and bigger. You'll want to make sure to jump on the mailing list at thefreedomflame.com.
Years ago.
And that's going to give you updated information, as now we will reset the clock after tonight, and the countdown will continue up until next year's March 20th, 2023 event. That will be our 6th annual Freedom Flame celebration. I can't believe it. My, oh my, how time does fly. We will return again next Wednesday as Jerry Hicks and the Dark Blue Extend Show will kick off another weekend right together with you. We'll leave you with the stunning visuals coming live from Ripon, Wisconsin, birthplace of the Republican Party and home of the Freedom Flame. Have a wonderful night, everybody. From all of us here at Ripon Common Sense Radio, my special thanks to our co-host this evening, Mr. Jerry Hicks. Thank you so much. I'm AJ, the Ripon Rabbit. Wherever you are, whatever it may be. What do I say? I don't even know. I'm so off the regular schedule. I say, wherever you are, good morning, good evening, or good day, whatever the case may be. I'm AJ, the Ripon Rabbit. Until we meet again, take care of yourselves and each other. Good night.
You've never seen such a creature like this. A human body and a red face. Oh, they call him Mr. Rabbit. Oh, Mr. Rabbit.
Once there was an old man living in an old house down by the lake. Rumor says the man was hunting for rabbits just for fun. Since the day the rabbits disappeared for a while, then came back and cast a spell over the old man. So he looks like a rabbit too now.